Hello friends, today we are focused on the point-slope form equation of a line. So you may recall that was our y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. And I've said previously that I learned it with little two subscripts on our first y and our first x, so I may flip between those two versions, but as far as I understand, most of you are more familiar with it without the twos, so that is fine. Given the equation below, identify the slope and a point passing through the line. So point-slope form gives us a slope and a point. Of course, our m is our slope, and x1 comma y1 is the point. So y1, x1. And do be careful, because it has a minus sign, it actually has two minus signs in the original formula. So positive numbers actually look negative in the formula. So we've got y minus 12 equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. So slope is easy. That's going to be right there in front of the parentheses. So that is negative 2/3. And then x1 comma y1 is our point. And so according to the formula, this is x1, 2, and this is y1, 12. And again, it is negatives in the original formula, so when there are minus signs that we see between our y and our y1 and our x and our x1, it's actually positive numbers. It gets very confusing for people. So we want to identify the slope and a point passing through this line. So again, slope is m, it always is and it always will be, and x1 comma y1 is the point. So let's see here, m, our slope, is always in front of the parentheses in this form, so that is 5/2, and then x1 comma y1. Now keep your x's together, so x1 is this plus 1 here, which again, because it's negatives in the original formula, that'll actually make that minus 1. So we flip the signs from what they look like they should be. And then your y's stay together, so your y1 is actually positive 3. So we find our slope in front of the parentheses, and then inside with the x is our x1, outside with the y is our y1, and the signs for those are opposite what they look like. So in this case, y plus 1 equals negative the quantity x plus 2. Looking for our slope first, that's the easier one. M. M always comes in front of the parentheses in point-slope form. So right now we have a negative, just a negative. But as we've discussed before, if there is ever no coefficient written, the number is actually 1. And if it helps you to think of it as having that negative 1 outside the parentheses, do it. That's fine. And then we've got our point x1 comma y1 that we want to find. So because it's negatives in the original formula, when we end up with positives in our actual equation, what that means is that we've done y minus negative 1 equals negative 1 times the quantity x minus negative 2. Because of course, minus minus becomes plus plus. So the reason you sometimes will see plus signs in this is because we have a double negative, meaning that our numbers themselves are negative. So x plus 2 indicates that we have a x value of minus 2, negative 2, and y plus 1 indicates that we have a y value of negative 1. And then finally, here we want to find the slope and the point. This one looks a little different. So we can still find our slope pretty easily. That's out front of the parentheses. So that would be that 4/5. And we can still find our x1 pretty easily, because that's inside the parentheses with the x. Since it is a positive 9, or since it's plus 9 rather, it's actually a negative 9. But y has no y1 friend. So we've got some sort of gap here. As we have discussed before, if we have a number that just kind of mysteriously vanishes, so before we had, y equals mx plus b, and the b disappeared because b was actually 0, and we don't need to write plus 0 necessarily. If we have a y1 that has disappeared, it has to be 0. That's the only way that a number can just vanish. So our slope here is 4/5, and our point is -9, 0. So now we're going to go in reverse. We are given our slope and our point, asked to write the equation. So y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. If it helps you to kind of write out this template, do that. So y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. So of course our slope is m. So m goes here. That is -2/5. y1 goes here. x1 goes here. Points are of course x first, then y. So this is 5 here, 9 here. So we end up with y minus 9 equals -2/5 times the quantity x minus 5. I'm going to make my little template again. I'm going to make it in a different color this time, just so it looks a little better. So y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. And then I'll go back to the green. So our slope, we are given 9/4. Slope is, of course, m, so that just plugs in right there. And then we have a point, 1, -7, so that's x1, y1, because points x comes first. So the 1 just goes in normal. The 7, however, is negative, so it's going to turn into y minus -7, or y plus 7 equals 9/4 times the quantity x minus 1. You can write it either way, whether with the minus or the plus, whichever one makes more sense to you. I will kind of flip-flop between the two, although I'm more likely to use the plus sign. And then finally, nope, we got one more, sorry. We've got -2/7 is our slope, and our point is -3, -5. So I'm writing my little template. If that helps you, do it. So of course, slope is m, so -2/7 will go in front of our parentheses. And then the point -3, -5 slots in like that. A very common error to make is to put the -3 here and the -5 here, because you're just reading from left to right. But you have to remember that in the point, x comes first, then y, even though in the formula y comes first. It gets very confusing for some at times. So you can leave it as y minus -5, or you can change it to y plus 5 equals -2/7, x minus -3, or x plus 3. Either one will work. Now finally, we have a slope of -0.5, and our point x1, y1 is -3.5 and 15. So this one I'm going to do without the template. I'm just going to go y minus y1. We said that our y1 was 15, equals m. Our m is -0.5 times the quantity x minus x1. So that's a negative, so I'm going to change that to a plus right away. And I'm done. See you later.